you for the everything, and she's like, oh my God, how exciting. And so she's like, if you have anything
Sure.
else, let me know. So yeah, it is
Awesome.
exciting.
I know it is. And
It
she
is
brought
kind of
this
cool.
in as the
Oh,
mailing.
Maya, what
Might as well.
happened?
She
Oh,
got her justice. Tons of money. They got a big
The
settlement.
money doesn't make the, you know,
No,
just
of
losing your
course.
mother versus
But
money.
okay, go
Oh,
for the green room.
everybody, welcome to another episode of the Green Room.
I know. Well, listen, I can't believe it's Thanksgiving next
I
weekend.
know, oh,
And
November.
yeah, November disappeared.
November just went
Yeah,
away. I was
I know.
like, I just finished Halloween and it's like Thanksgiving already. Oh,
Yeah,
how did that
I
happen?
know.
You're going away for a few days?
I am. And listen, there's significant events coming up the rest of this month. Ohio State, Michigan game, Brown Steeler game. No, I'm kidding. No, it's been a roller coaster. It really has. And of course, there's still, you know, so much craziness. But I wanted to revisit something because I know you did a whole show on it when I was away one week. Maya got justice here in Venice.
Yay.
And I guess I didn't know that they were a Venice family.
Oh, yeah,
I did not know that. I didn't know
you
that.
did. Oh,
No, I
no,
did
that
not.
was why it was such
She's
a good story.
17. She's 17 now.
And
she appeared in a news conference. And, you know, she's got interesting. I know. And lost her mom. That's the most important part of the story.
Because of faults of the system in the state.
Because of the heavy weight of the state.
I have to say.
I know. No.
A lot of states have these crazy ass laws.
You have to understand that as an emergency physician, you're literally under state obligation to report suspicion of child abuse. It's always been that way. You know, rare do you see what's called a Munchausen by proxy case, where, you know, that parent will be getting the attention through the child. I don't know, but this one got way out of hand. And, you know,
her mom was a
people
nurse,
don't know about the case. It was the one that was on Netflix.
Justice for Maya. It's been on the cover of People magazine. It's made a lot of headlines, and thank God at least she got acknowledgement that their family was wronged and that she was wronged and her mom was wronged. At least she rest in peace. So, and maybe now her mom can rest in peace, and at least there's some justice there, and it's kind of like the interesting side inside
of the article was the punitive damages to the hospital, because the hospital in general has a significant altruistic bent to it, takes care of plenty of Medicare and Medicaid time, you know, so you didn't want to injure the hospital to the extent of not allowing them to fulfill their mission. Believe it or not, that comment, and it's right here in the article, almost prompted a mistrial.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
because one of the attorneys, I think it was on the Maya side, said that, but it biases a jury. They're not allowed. You know how that is. So, but right, like is covered for that type of stuff.
But even for a jury to hear this case, I don't know. Like just watching that. Movie was heart-wrenching
for sure.
And honestly, the only other thing for all
children, a jury of your peers is so interesting still.
It is, but you know, like honestly,
I wonder if it's going to play out in the Trump trials. Not to compare one to the other,
but like for this one, what bothers me, like on this one, was the all children's. I know you said they're an altruistic sort of an organization, but one, they still bill insurances, and they were misbilling based on the diagnosis, saying that she didn't have any billed against.
There's tons of graft that was uncovered in this case.
And then the other
thing, it's important, no doubt.
And then the other thing is, why in God's green planet did All Children's hire a woman who was accused of child molestation to handle children? What the hell are you thinking?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I know the case a little deeper.
And a friend of mine, Verinia Van Ness, Verinia was on the case, and I just knew about it because of the movie, and I texted Verinia.
I'm so glad you remembered me about your friends, because listen, if we didn't go to book burning here in Florida, okay, and the response that you got, okay, to noting the article about Pink giving out literally the band's books at her concert. I mean, it took me about 5 minutes to read through
everybody's commentary. My God,
I don't know how it can be such a buzz issue, man. You know,
it is. It's such a buzz issue, and it's like I understand.
To me, it's so obvious. Do not burn books.
Don't books, and even for banning, okay, granted, it's not a true ban because
I know in school libraries.
Thank God we have Google and we can actually go and Amazon and download it. No, I know, yes and no, but I mean, I'm sorry. First of all, they're quoting books. To Kill a Mockingbird is not a third grade level read. Hello.
Yeah.
When can a third grader pick up that
Well,
and read it?
The language.
The language
Well, that's
alone,
what's so
I'm sorry,
interesting.
most Floridians can't
If
even
you,
comprehend. I'm
if you look
sorry.
through the feeds and all that, people are just looking for the outside, case, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's interesting.
I don't know. I got bashed from here to Sunday from some people.
Yeah, and that-
I enjoy the challenge, honestly,
Oh, I
but
know.
it's still.
And we
it's-
do exist here in very Republican,
It
Sarasota
is
County.
very Republican, but shout out to the Dems. Really good efforts for
Please.
2 councilmen who took over 2 very red seats.
Well, no, it was an interesting
Very
election.
well
We had
done.
Jose in last week, so.
Yeah, that was.
And listen, we have our guests and then we don't have our guests. I tell Ruta every once in a while, we need to not have a guest
Yeah, so
because,
we can be.
no, we do, we need this.
A lot of subjects.
We do, we gotta therapeutically
Yeah,
unwind
unwind for a little
any
bit.
number of issues, but listen, I mean, the Democratic, and that's why I think it's gonna be so interesting to see what goes on, just talking cannabis. Here in the state of Florida, they did have the oral arguments in front of the Supreme Court to discuss the legal adult use bill that is called Smart and Safe in Florida and everything. And I watched the entire oral arguments. Everybody, they're available. You can pull it up on YouTube if you're, so inclined. And there's a lot of legalese there, but you can clearly tell that the justices seem to be leaning towards, listen, we've revisited this. We visited this once. They rewrote this as we asked them to rewrite it, and now they're bringing it back to us. And for us to deny it would almost be capricious to a certain extent. So Ashley Moody did not even appear herself in front of the Supreme Court. She sent one of her lieutenants. So we'll see. They're supposed to announce that in March. But it's interesting. I've always felt that it would be to the benefit of the Republican Party to keep that issue off the November 24 ballot, because I think it's going to drive more young, seemingly Democratic voters to the polls.
Drive a lot. I think we have.
They are, but you want another issue on top. Well, that's my point.
We just saw that. Yeah, so I think it's going to drive.
Plus, in Ohio, everybody, and I think people know that they did, go positive towards abortion rights, but also they passed legal adult possession and use of cannabis with, interestingly, a 2.5 ounce possession limit, right? Which is similar to our 2.5 ounces of flower every 35 days. It's funny where they pull these numbers out of the sky somewhere. But also 6 plants for home grow per person and 12 per household.
Nice.
And that's without any kind of medical card or this or that. It's just now, but here's the point about Ohio. And then we'll get into Florida because we have some exciting news. We do. But in Ohio, the legislature and the bill's worded this way. The legislature has significant power to alter many, many things within. Absolutely. So the proof is going to be in the pudding. That's the taxation rate. They've talked 10% state tax, which isn't horrible.
That's not horrible.
But we'll see how that gets chopped out. They've talked about already trying to limit that possession limit under that 2.5. And so they're going to monkey with it. And I've called it what I believe to be a prequel, so to speak, of what may go on here in Florida, because we're going to watch the medical program in Ohio and see how it's affected. Because
but I actually we can kind of still
let's
debate
go
a little bit.
No, we have some really exciting news, and I credit Ruta with a lot of great hard work and
a lot of
really digging into some stuff.
A lot of research, and I have to give a shout out of thank you to Gary Stein and to Margaret Good. They both helped me on this. But we actually went and approached Representative Buchanan, who's our rep here in the area, and went to him about concerns that we had being in the business of teaching and educating both physicians and dispensary workers. So there are 2 amendments coming up. They're supposed to hit the floor as bills and amendments end of January, which is really exciting. And it's about testing and it's about education, both for physicians and for the dispensary workers. And so we're really excited. It actually it's gotten drafted and it's going for.
We're waiting to see it
final-
published. It hasn't come out yet. I have a
No,
couple
no, it
people.
won't, they won't, they said probably until mid-January. So yeah, so
Okay.
it won't come out till
Oh, I think the
January.
kind of stuff got kind of,
No, she said it,
okay,
I
interesting.
spoke with her yesterday with
Sure.
Lindsay and thank you to
Awesome.
Lindsay, you know,
Lindsay
Buchanan's
Cosby,
yeah,
who's right,
yeah,
Rep Buchanan's chief aide.
yeah, chief
Yeah.
aide. She's fantastic. He's
It's
just
the
fantastic
process,
on
and
that.
I credit you, Ruta, for really
So-
all the digging in and all the hard work. The point is,
Yeah,
I
it's a lot,
really
but it's
believe
fun.
that we need to mandate a certain level
And
of
education.
safety education.
It is, it's all about
Because
safety.
listen, it's medicine here in Florida. We need to
That's the
recognize
thing.
it's medicine here in Florida.
In all states, and I think that's one of the things that kind of prompted the whole conversation too with Representative Buchanan, because he asked me too. He's like, Ruta, go do some research for him and Lindsay to sort of side quote what was going on in the country that had programs that were medical and the education. And oddly enough, and sadly enough, the lack of education in cannabis exists all across the country. It really does. And so I think there's a few states, Massachusetts, Washington State, Nevada, who have mandatory CMEs for physicians with something related to cannabis.
Even for the physicians.
Even for the
Huh,
physician.
you were just
Yeah.
talking about MMTC
Yeah.
workers. You're telling me that something we may be actually educating physicians here in Florida?
Imagine.
That would be the Second Amendment.
That might be the second one where they're gonna actually have in-depth courses on.
I was trying to be incredulous, Don, to that kind of. Seriously, here's the point. Our patients interact with the MMTC workers behind that window after they get the education in our clinic. We want and wish that every
Office would do
clinic
that.
did the same thing,
But
but
unfortunately, they don't.
truthfully, we know that's not the
Yeah, it's
case.
not the case.
So the point is, there needs to be a bare minimum standard of education for sure, just to kind of fill that gap. But here's the and I think to the MMTC's side of things, because listen, it's going to be a requirement for them. I hope they don't buck it, because they should want better training. It's a win. It's a win for everybody.
It's a win for
It's a win for
everyone.
society, because you
It
have a
is.
safer patient, a safer, more educated
Educated
patient. Okay.
exactly. And you have, the thing is, what I was talking to James about in the cell that I gave him, and it's sincere from me, was the fact that if it's truly a medicine, if you look at medicines, they're dispensed by a pharmacist, somebody who's educated on the compounds, on the chemicals, on everything, side effects. They know that. Here we're dispensing quote unquote medicine with people who just come in with like very minimal training in many cases. And they're the ones that are actually treating the patients and giving patients medication. And I think at a bare minimum, like we said, I think they need to have, every dispensary worker
Right.
should have that education so
For
that
sure.
they can speak to the patient. Because the other side is, and on the physician education side,
Well, hang on, and just to wrap that up, because in a similar similarly to what you were saying, state by state by state, there are dispensary organizations in the state that do have their own.
They do have
So
their
I want
own.
to make sure that we
they
call
do.
that out.
There's some that do, but there's some that don't.
Absolutely.
And same with the physicians. There's a lot, most of the states that do medical, they have a 2-hour course. I actually, a few of us hopped online and we took some of these courses. I have to say the courses were laughable, and I'm not one of the educators of cannabis, and I scored 100% on the exams. And so if I could do that, being somebody that's not a cannabis expert, there's a problem with that, because the ones on the other side who are taking the test should be experts. And if I can pass, they need something a little more.
What excites me about this, and I want to be clear about it, everybody, is that this is not just medical cannabis clinicians being educated. This is every physician, MD, NDO in the state of Florida that would be required to take a bare minimum, of 2 hours on medical cannabis. And here's why. Because it's important to know that there's a whole hemp scene out there too of other cannabinoids.
Well, that's
and patients are.
That's a whole module in our exam.
It is. And
It really
clinicians, practitioners, nurse practitioners, PAs, anybody that interacts with patients clinically these days has to understand that there are quote
Alternatives.
unquote gray market legal cannabinoids, right, that are available. So there's no reason not to talk to your patients. You talk to them about all kinds of other supplements,
Yeah.
right? So that's what they're calling these products that are being sold out in that gray market. But there's going to be patients of yours that are also in the medical cannabis program, and you have to have that door open to them to be able to discuss for the many reasons that you already noted.
no,
You know,
because,
Ruta,
like,
may be drug, you know,
well, drug
is
and
they're
then-
minimal, but they're important. You know,
no, not minimal.
Well, no.
They're really not. And we're gonna have a whole module on those
I
too.
know I
They're-
got it.
they're
I'm
not.
not saying minimal, they'll never
Yeah,
cause
they're not.
death, but you always
Well,
want to
they
be
can in certain cases, and they've been cited already in several states. So there are. And we can't dismiss it. There are.
It's the safety.
But
The
safety
point
is
is the
an
safety
issue.
profile of
Yeah.
cannabis is clearly safer than opiates, safer
It
than
is.
alcohol, safer than
It is.
benzodiazepines. Okay, so
It is,
drug
no, and
interactions.
we're talking rare cases of patients that have heart conditions predominantly. Those are the ones that, there has been cited cases and research on that. But
No, there was an article that came out a couple weeks ago that would really, you know, put a lot of confusion into the space
yeah,
because
for heart
but you gotta,
patients,
you
there's a
know,
lot.
we need more research.
And
Everybody
we
can,
need
everybody can agree on
Yes,
that,
and we
of
need the
course, you
education,
know.
and I think
we
that's
do.
what's so important, because like even now, like the research that's behind the CBNs, the CBGs, there's so much already out there on
There's the
helping-
acidic cannabinoids coming, you
There's
know,
a-
so we need more research, and
there's a
every
lot.
doctor,
Needs a
literally
minimum
in
course.
2023, as we go to 2024,
For
really needs to open their eyes to that,
Yeah,
because
there's
we're
a
not going to
lot.
go backwards in cannabis space. No
Yeah.
doubt, it's only going to go.
it's only going
forwards.
forward.
And I have an entire lecture on my computer that I talk to my patients about. It's called "How to Talk to Your Doctor About Medical Cannabis," because patients want to do it.
Yeah.
They do.
And even
They don't
physicians
want
now,
the
there's
don't
volumes
ask. They
too.
don't want the don't ask, don't tell type of thing. Okay, when it comes to their health care,
Yeah.
but they're often not sure how their doctor feels about it. But I, in my humble belief in this era, the easiest way to initiate the conversation is just to leave yourself out of the conversation. So you keep it third person. Do you have any experience with the medical cannabis doctor? Have you had any of your patients that have used medical cannabis, doctor? How do you feel about medical cannabis, doctor? As long as you don't say, do you have any other patients, then you're not outing yourself. So that allows you to get the answer back, of course, from your doctor. And listen, if he's totally against it, then if you're
And
getting your
again,
blood pressure medicine from him and things like that, it's troublesome, because you'd rather talk to him about those type of interactions and this and that. So we got to
Yeah.
continue. That's my
And
point.
there are,
We
like
got to
I said,
continue
there
to break
are.
down the stigma.
But
There's
this
not a lot of doctors like that anymore, though. The good news
No.
is the more likely answer is I didn't learn it in med school. There's no residency
But there's
program
going to be
for
a
it.
class that actually will educate
Yes.
them on all the side
So excited
effects,
about
with
it.
all different interactions, and from a lot of different meds that may interact or may not interact. And some that there's some, like I said, some variants of the CBD, CBG, CBNs that now have incredible studies out there.
Absolutely.
And the results are phenomenal. I
Well,
mean, truly phenomenal.
we've heard our experts over the past couple, 3 to 4 green rooms, where we've had our book writers,
Mhm.
medical cannabis experts really talk to the respect of the cannabinoids when it
Yeah.
comes to other drugs,
There
you know,
is, there
and the
is.
immunotherapy discussion.
There is.
That's in
The
the, you know,
immunotherapies there. And
so there are. Listen, it's why it needs to be done right, and why we're so grateful to really have our foot in the door, you know, to be able to
honestly, and
offer.
the amount
you know,
of, like I
this
said,
type of,
it's taken, honestly, and this is the other thing, it's not something we did overnight. It's taken
Sure.
2 years to generate the exams and the modules. So it's something that took a lot of research, a lot of reading. We pulled from national health institutes. We pulled from
Sure.
different physicians. We pulled from Harvard University. We pulled from a lot of sources.
I'm very interested to see if there's any pushback from the physician community.
I don't see why.
You know, well, no, come on, no, because it's still a very conservative FMA in Florida. They tend to want to write their own,
No,
you know,
I know.
this, that,
And
whatever. So
And if it takes a collaboration at the
Sure.
end of the day for the CME portion, which it may, and honestly, we addressed that with Representative Buchanan. It may be a collaboration on the CME side. On the other sides, no, but on the CME, it may be a collaboration between even us and University of Florida and then FMA. But there might be
I can't wait for the discussion. The discussion is so
The
important.
discussion is important.
We know we're slow interval change state here in Florida. I got it.
States are. It's not just us.
I got it.
States, all the states are. They really are.
Absolutely.
And the lack
Sure.
of education, even for states like California, which was kind of surprising to me when I started doing the research, states that have had recreational and medicinal for a long time, they really do not have a lot of courses or regulation in the sense of the workers, the dispensary people, or the physicians for training. And that was a little surprising. And so again, unless the physicians out there on their own doing a lot of research, it's kind of difficult. And so I think I'm hoping that this is some kind of a gateway later to a national program. And honestly, that's what my hope is to actually broaden it to a national program so that anywhere that has medical cannabis, anywhere in the United States, or recreational for that matter, the physicians, the staff that works in those dispensaries are all going to have some level of education before they're giving this out to a patient.
Yeah, there's certain things they need, to always, just question. Right. Yeah, 1000%, and so excited about it.
It's very exciting.
I know.
So like it was really interesting, like I said, going through the states. So I kind of went state by state for laws. So it was
listen, when I said on my Facebook post, I called it shades of gray and green. And it's interesting, and I chose my words carefully, and I apologize for knocking into your Ruta, but gray is the gray zone that we all operate.
We're still in the whole
industry is the gray zone. And if you sat in Ruta's office as I wander back a couple times during the day and show her things that I see on Facebook. What do they call it these days? Meta or whatever. No, listen, everybody, you cannot see a physician. You cannot get into the program without seeing your physician first in person. And that's period. Nada. No exceptions. It's just the way it is.
Yes.
And you can't change from one practice to the other without being seen physically in that new practice location. It's just against the law.
And for a reason.
And it's a misdemeanor too, both for those that do it on this side, doctor business or whatever. And it's a misdemeanor too for patients too.
It is, because they need to know.
They do. And it goes on way too much. We still see it.
Way
Unfortunately, it's been sparked a little bit since the recent telehealth decision.
And
we love telehealth for our patients, for our recertification patients. Believe me when I tell you, it's wonderful. It's convenient. It was a rainy day yesterday somehow here in Florida.
I know. That was awesome.
No, but seriously, I mean, telehealth is great for those patients that are already established within your practice. But I'm telling you, the legislature, they may wrangle it back. I can't imagine them doing that, but
it should be. My personal feeling is,
I
don't think it's God forbid that they should bring it back.
Well, no, we know the positives
and the negatives. There are positive and negatives.
Our patients love it, and we have to respect that for it. But my appeal to every patient out there, okay,
tell your friends that you have to
right, and it doesn't hurt, I mean, I tell a couple bad jokes to get out of the way of the staff, but no, seriously, and I do believe this. And listen, I'll have some people get angry at me on this side. I want every rec as we go forward with legal adult use. I want a rec citizen to also take some type of safe substance use class before they start to use cannabis too, because they may not know that an edible takes an hour to take effect, and they may take 3 instead of 1, and they're driving on my roads.
And I don't want that either.
Nobody should. Nobody should, and I'll continue to respectfully disagree on the death side and everything. I'm teasing, but I'm not. Listen, cannabis in general still needs to be used safely and still needs to be used with an educational outlook with other alcohol, other drugs, driving, operating heavy equipment, machinery in the workplace. Okay. I mean, these are all things that we can't take for granted. But my point is, if you don't take care of it within an industry, which is my appeal to patients and to other, but when I tell you that the doctors in the state, I mean, it's not hard to kind of know who's not doing it right. And we just appeal for some type of, oversight, quite frankly. And, it's funny, the hospitals have to go boy, I'll probably get some messages about this one, but the hospitals have to have joint commission
Yeah,
review
JACO, I think
every,
one-
JACO
yeah,
every 2 to 3
every
to
2
4
years,
years.
yeah.
And is it every 2
Every 2
years?
years for
And
JACO.
every hospital shakes over it for a
They
couple
do,
weeks
but
when
it-
JACO
but
comes
I-
in,
yeah.
but it keeps those systems in line.
And we need that. I wish
Listen,
maybe one day we'll get the ear of a certain person that's sitting in the OMMU. And,
yeah,
and
I don't
I'm
know.
hoping we can
I just don't think
kinda
any cannabis
give 'em
clinic
some-
should fear. I don't think any
No,
cannabis clinic should
should
fear
fear.
a visit from the OMU.
The legitimate ones, the legitimate
I don't think any
ones shouldn't.
cannabis clinic should fear a visit from the OMU, just like no cannabis
Absolutely.
grow. They're all
subject
subjected to
inspections.
inspection.
Yeah, and I think the clinics should be, I think honestly,
You know,
and then you'll find the
I mean,
ones
we know
that
we've been
are-
investigated in the past. I don't think it's been recently in the
No, I
past,
don't
but I
think
know in the
it's
past we were.
Perhaps,
And it's always
yeah.
been my philosophy that, listen, I want that
Open the door, come
investigator
on in.
to leave as the most educated investigator ever to come into a cannabis clinic and to walk out and say, oh my God, what the hell's going on in there?
No,
You know,
and
and I think that happened, quite frankly, you know.
I think the fact that we're open, Monday through
8:56,
Friday.
Ruta,
Oh
how
my
can that
God,
be?
it
I
is.
know.
But Monday through Friday, we're here 9 to
We are.
5. We're here
We're
all
gonna
the
keep
time.
doing our
We pick
thing.
up the phones.
Holidays coming, so there's gonna be a holiday
Yes,
schedule.
No green room next week because
Right.
we're off for Thanksgiving. So
Right.
hopefully everyone will just enjoy their families and friends and however they're spending Thanksgiving.
For
So that'll
sure.
be nice.
And then we'll be getting into December. And that's gonna go so fast
And
too. It's gonna
December's
be 24
fly.
before you know
It
it.
is, it's gonna fly.
Right.
And so for us, we still have a little bit of legwork to do on our side for the exam to pull it together for final pieces. And I have to thank Dawn and Ennis that are going behind the scenes to pull the exam out and do it the right way.
Yeah, it's been a great team. I mean, over a couple
Great
years
team.
ago, it was, we
It's
had,
2 years. It's been 2
video in
years.
the can.
Yeah, that went out the door. So it's
Yeah,
a
I
whole
know.
new day. Whole new exam, whole new day, very in-depth, very clinical. So
Awesome.
it'll
Can't
be
wait to
it's
see
really
how
good.
it gets impacted up in Tallahassee.
Like it's Tallahassee.
I
but-
know. Well, they had a special session. Not much came out of there, I don't think. I know.
There, but I have to thank again Representative James Buchanan for listening to me and for
Absolutely.
Lindsay for putting it together for us, and honestly, just to have an open mind and see that it's public safety and patient safety comes first, and I
It's
have
hard to argue education and safety.
no, and I have to give a kudos to this clinic because even in speaking with Representative Buchanan, he gave a huge shout out to this practice. He's like, Ruta, I came, I saw you guys, how you operate. You're a true, he's like class medical office. He goes, I was really impressed. And so I think given that, like, I think calling him and telling him what the project was, that it's coming from inside the business. And I think that was the other thing. It wasn't coming from an external source. It was somebody that's already inside and seeing the gaps that exist. And so it's awesome.
I can't wait to proudly go up and speak for it,
Yeah, it's
and
awesome.
speak why it's important, and
Yeah,
and it is. And listen,
it is. It's really it's
like I said, who can argue? Who can argue with education and safety?
yeah, education. So
Education
it's
and
all
safety.
exciting, and so everybody in the next coming weeks will probably
Got a lot coming into the
we have
new
a lot
year.
coming in, so keep an eye out.
And also, we have so many people coming back for season, of
Yeah.
course, getting really busy down here.
A lot of busy people, and those who, if anyone's tuning in that's new or just moving to the state, make sure you're current on what you need to bring us for guideline as far as guidelines, needs, banknotes that you live down here.
Sure, and our staff's here to assist.
They are. They assist a lot.
Greatest staff in the world. Want to
Yeah.
give a shout out
Yeah,
every
we
single.
do. We
day.
have some exciting news for some of our patients that are listening. We have an old person coming back, an old guy coming back. He's not that old. He's like 30 years old. But Scott Patrick Moore is coming back. So everybody that was educated by Scott in the past, he's coming back. We're really excited to have him coming back and joining our team. And I know a lot of patients out there will be happy about that. And he's a great educator.
Yes, he is. He
So-
really had a great depth of knowledge.
yeah, great depth of knowledge. So very exciting to have him. For all of my listeners, I know I have some friends and family that listen in Canada, some that listen. I found out that there are Canadians listening.
Awesome.
Yeah, so thank you for listening.
Got
For-
cold up there early
it
this
is
year,
cold.
man.
For Chicago, thank you for Chicago listening. Indiana's listening. I know Massachusetts listens in, and I know New Mexico and Arizona.
Oh, so
listen in.
isn't it like a hit a like and subscribe type of thing or something?
Well,
I know.
go to YouTube.
I saw we had like 784 subscribers or something. I'm like, is that good or is that, what is that?
It's getting there.
I know,
We
I
need
know.
to get up.
500,000
Well, the problem is they're listening to me on Facebook, so
Yeah,
I need
that's
to
true.
move them off that platform onto that, but I still have to thank him for listening to my platform here too.
Oh, it's
So
awesome,
it's
you know.
awesome.
And listen, let's roll on with joy and happiness and everybody have a great holiday season
Yeah,
and we
happy
will see you
Thanksgiving to you and your
in a
families.
couple weeks in
Everybody
the green room.
stay safe and we'll see you.